Hey, you all. Welcome back. Y'all already know what it is. You see the title of this video. This is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, darling, season 12. And we're going to talk a little bit about episodes 5. And then we're going to do a full review of episode 6. Because I couldn't really do a review of episode 6 without telling y'all how I feel about episode 5. So once again, bravo, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You all are doing an excellent job at keeping the audience entertained. Real Housewives of Atlanta, take notes. Take notes and check it twice, okay? So, quick thoughts on episode 5. So, this is an observation. I kind of want to give that warning or disclaimer, I should say. It is not a judgment. It's just merely an observation. Crystal may not be best for reality TV. And the reason why is because she seems very easily triggered and extremely anxious and on edge. I know that in the past, she has said that she does have or has fought through like different mental health issues. And I'm not judging her for that. But I don't know if reality TV can help her. That's all I'm saying. It just seems like it's more of a harm to her than anything. I also kind of lightweight feel that Crystal isn't being her authentic self, but I don't think she knows how to be that way, right? Especially hearing about how she grew up, enduring racism in some of the schools, things of that nature. I don't think she even knows who she is. And watching episodes 5 and 6, I wonder, how is she being treated in her marriage? Because she seems to shrivel up whenever someone is like, what's your opinion? She seems to not want to give it. I have a lot of questions about Crystal. I like Crystal. I really did, but Crystal, we're going to get to it, but you lying, sis. You lying, but let's go through it. Crystal, we're talking about episode 5 first, and I'm not going to talk about everything, just different things. So when they were the next morning, everybody woke up, they're at Kyle's house, but Sutton and Diana and Crystal are at their hotel. So anyways, when Crystal arrives, she re-explains to them how she felt last year. Now, let me also say this. Multiple things can be true. Crystal was absolutely correct in what she said to Kyle the night prior, right? Kyle was full of BS, and Crystal told her right. I don't even have a problem with Crystal being triggered by what Kyle and Dorit, what they were doing and discussing. No problem. So they did diminish how she felt last year. They absolutely did. Every single last one of them diminished how she felt. So when Crystal says, I don't feel like this group is a safe space, she's also entitled to that. Now, Dorit, here you come in your one-on-one saying, you don't feel safe here. Well, this is vacation compared to what I went through. Let me tell you something, Dorit. If you're going to keep doing that, I'm not going to believe you. Because no one who has been through something like that, well, I can't say no one, but why is everything has to be compared to the trauma that you experienced? Because of course, if this story is real, this wasn't a setup, because the girlies say it's a setup. Even some of my own friends who are Beverly Hills fans think this was a setup. Okay, it was a scheme that Todd and PK put together for some insurance fraud. That's what the girls say, not me. Okay, so if you did go through that, and if that situation really happened, why do you keep having to throw it in people's face and talk about how you were traumatized the most? We're not going to do that. No, ma'am. I'm over it. She's done that multiple times. She's going to do it later at Sutton's event at her store. I'm not here for it. But anyways, I'm tired. I'm tired of Dorit, okay? After Crystal explains how she feels, Garcelle says, listen, since we're being honest and talking about things from a year ago, I have something I want to get off my chest. And she says that she felt when Crystal and Sutton had their exchange that Crystal set Sutton up. That is a very strong accusation, Garcelle. And I'm very disappointed in Garcelle, because what she was saying is, Sutton could have said, oh, the sky is blue, and you would have asked her, was she that girl? It was a setup. Now, hear me clearly, because I know I'm going to have an unpopular opinion. Garcelle did not say these words, but what I took from it was that, oh, you pulling the race card. That's what I took for it, and I get very angry when I hear black men and women use that racist terminology. There is no such thing as a race card. What is this race card? Do I have money on it? Do I get to go to Africa unlimited times of the year? Like, is all my tuition paid for? Are my reparations on this card? Do you see how stupid and ignorant that sounds? There's nothing I have as a black woman that grants me the privilege that white skin grants white people. And we're not going to sit here and use this race card as if, oh, if the police pull me over, do I just flash my race card and they say, okay, ma'am, have a good day. To diminish racism and to basically accuse people of weaponizing racism when most people don't do that, it is utterly offensive. And if you all use that word, that's up to you, but that's not welcomed in this house. Like, there's no such thing as a race card. It's no such thing. Because even if you are lying about it, what do you get from it? People don't get fired from their jobs. Folks don't get held accountable. Hell, depending on the racial group you belong to, you can walk right into our nation's capital and basically be a terrorist and get away with it. So you have the audacity to tell me that I have a race card? Oh, no, ma'am. Oh, no, ma'am. So I don't like that. But Garcelle did not say that. That's what my interpretation of that was. In other words, you were going to use anything. You was going to pull the race card or do whatever because you didn't like Sutton. Now, here's my thoughts on Garcelle and why I'm so disappointed. Garcelle, you are not Sutton's big black bodyguard. You can be her friend. You can stand 10 toes down. You can support her and you can be loyal. That does not translate to you being a pit bull. I am really sick of these women on these reality TV shows feeling like they have to be somebody's pit bull or someone's bodyguard and protect them. Sutton is well grown and has more money than most of y'all on the cast, including you, Garcelle. She can defend herself just fine. As we see in episode 6, she can defend herself. When it comes time, when rubber meets the road, she can defend herself. We don't need you. It's one thing to have your friend's back when she's not in those spaces. That's fine. But every time someone says something, here go Garcelle jumping up. I don't like that imagery. I don't like the aesthetic. It bothers me. I was really disappointed in Garcelle, and I can't stand behind her saying that, and I won't. Now, like I said, multiple things can be true, because then what Crystal followed with, I can't stand behind or get behind that either. So after Garcelle says that, she's like, wait a minute, you've known me for 2 years and you think that I would set someone up? She was like, see, the problem is what y'all didn't hear is that she said some things very dark. Now, let me say this. I'm already on edge by the use of the word dark, if you feel me and if you catch my drift. Because with you being such a wordsmith, Crystal, as we're going to see in episode 6, as you had the nerve to try to talk down on Garcelle, which we're going to get to that microaggression, because that's what it was, because you wouldn't have said that to Lisa, Kyle, and Erica now, would you have? But we'll get there. That's why I said multiple things are true here in these 2 episodes. But she said that Sutton said something dark, and that word to me is a very heavy word. I don't think that word should be used loosely, because you're implying that something heavy was said, to the point where when they asked her, she didn't want to say. And I think what happened, and this is my opinion, you all tell me yours. I think that what happened is Crystal's back was against the wall, because once again, she did not feel safe, as she said previously about this group. And so now, in order to justify her feelings, she had to validate her own feelings, basically. And so she decided to lie, and I'm calling it a lie, because even as recently as Watch What Happens Live, I saw just a small clip. She said that she refuses to actually say what was said. Then it's a lie. I can't stand people when you ask them something, well, tell me what was said. Well, either you tell me or you don't. We're going to call it a lie until Crystal specifically says what was said. Other than that, It's a lie. I'm not going to entertain it. But I think she wanted to validate and reaffirm herself. And so she felt she had to come up with a lie in order to do that. And everyone's sitting there like, what was said and you refusing to say it? That's wrong, Crystal, period. So I said in my margin notes that I think Crystal was trying to save herself. I think she felt she was drowning and said, okay, let me just throw something out there. When really you didn't need to do that. Because Crystal, you could have said, wow, Garcelle, you've ignored me for 2 years. You think I would set someone up, especially when it comes to something like racism or, things that are problematic. I'm so disappointed in you as another woman of color that you would accuse of me of that, right? You could have said anything. You could have cursed Garcelle out, but instead you chose to tell a lie. So let's move on to Sutton's story then. So Dorit comes and she's upset that there is a step and repeat and that there's press there, saying that Sutton should know better and that it's self-absorbed and, all this BS. Dorit, stay your behind at home. Because to me, if you want to judge people, Dorit, to me, you and PK moving really funny for people who were so traumatized. Leaving your children the day of or a few hours after your home had been invaded. You're doing a lot of moving and partying and rubbing elbows to say you're so traumatized. Sutton can have press at her store and it's none of your damn business. If you don't like it, don't go. Stay at home with PK. Garcelle tells Sutton at the event what Crystal alluded to, and that it made her feel like it would change the dynamics of their friendship. And I think that's fair. I still think, to me, Garcelle, I'm double-minded about this because Garcelle started it. Like, you could have kept that thought to yourself. No one really cares that you felt she was setting Sutton up. You are not Sutton's protector at all. You're her friend. You could be a loyal friend, but you're not her bodyguard. You're not her personal bodyguard. Like, to me, all that was unnecessary. But once again, Garcelle's feelings are valid, because if I was Garcelle, I would feel the same way. They decide to sit down with Crystal to discuss this. Crystal says, if we're going to have this conversation, you can't police my words. My thoughts on that is that words have meaning. You can't just say words and throw them out there and then say you can't police them. If you all watched my Real Housewives of Atlanta review, when I said that Candy was crossing boundaries with people when it comes to talking about sex and things of that nature, I made it very clear to say I'm not saying she's a predator, right? Because words and thoughts and implications have meaning. You can't expect for people not to police your words, but you police theirs. You can't do that. So then Crystal, in her one-on-one, compares Garcelle accusing her of setting Sutton up to someone being accused of murder. It's not the same. I understood the analogy that Crystal was attempting to provide, but you could have easily said, no, I wasn't setting her up. She said that. She said she doesn't see color, and that's offensive. You don't think so, Garcelle? Now, that's what you should have done. She should have turned the table on her. You don't think so, Garcelle? You don't think that's offensive for someone to say they don't see color? Hell yeah, it's offensive. But comparing it to someone who was accused of something like that, not the same. Crystal's very dramatic. Very, very dramatic. So Sutton says, listen, I just want to move forward. And Kyle makes a good point. Maybe Sutton can't even remember everything she said. And so at that point in episode 5, she was tiptoeing around it. But sometimes you just got to stick it out with your chest and say, listen, I ain't saying no like that, period, Crystal, and you lying. So Crystal says that dark is not a strong word. Crystal, for the wordsmith that you pretended to be in episode 6, you would know that dark is a heavy word. It's just dark. It's just one vowel. See, that's that intellectual superiority that you have coming through. And we'll talk about that with I keep saying episode 6, aren't I? I'm sorry, episode 5. Crystal closes with saying that she doesn't want her integrity questioned, but if you don't want your integrity questioned, Crystal, you have to say what was said. Moving on. Next, we are in episode 5. I kept saying episode 6 earlier. We're at episode 5, so we're already almost at 16 minutes. So let me go ahead and fly through. So Garcelle is buying a beach house. Bravo to her. I'm all for it. She says she grew up, she barely even knew people with one home, yet alone two. I'm for a beach house. I would love to own a beach home or a summer home. I love the beach myself. And Garcelle said it just reminds her of Haiti. When she was a child, she would go with her favorite fruit and they would be at the beach all day having fun. So good for her. It's also good to see more of Garcelle's family on the show. Then Erica and Dorit meet for lunch. Dorit says she is in therapy. Good for her, because I'm tired of her attacking others for their emotions because they didn't experience what she experienced. The girls are going to Mexico. And they're flying on Diana's private jet. Private jet. Shout out to her. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, Diana's the rich anyway, so let's go ahead and fly out. They also talk about Lisa Rinna's mother, Lois. I'm not going to talk about this twice. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it once because it was sad enough. Lois had a stroke and then she was transferred to hospice. And of course, she ended up transitioning. So rest in peace to Lois. When Rinna was talking about how her mom had, do not resuscitate, no feeding tubes, my parents had the same conversation with me. And it's a difficult conversation, but you have to think about it. It's quality of life. Would your parents want to be on this feeding tube? Would they want to be a vegetable? I mean, would you want to live like that? And the answer probably for most people is no. And so to have that type of decision in your lap, it's a very, very difficult one. I can relate because when my father was in the hospital, we thought that might be the way it went, but it didn't. It didn't. My father's fine. He's out the hospital. That's been years ago. But I felt Lisa Rinna on that. And although I don't like her character on the show, I wouldn't wish losing a parent on my worst enemy. So rest in peace to Lois. Moving on. Next, we see Kyle and Crystal meet for lunch, and you know how they do. It's just a bunch of meet and greets, honey. But they sit down, and Crystal explains to Kyle that she doesn't like confrontation or she's not used to conflict. Crystal, something about that tells me you're lying. I think you've been fully leaned in onto conflict before. This isn't your first go around. I think you don't like being called out on your BS. That's what I think you don't like. And so Kyle says, you brought something in from a year ago, but you won't tell us, and that's wild. And so Crystal just tells her straight up, under no circumstances will I say what was said. Baby, if I was Kyle, and I don't even like Kyle, I would have said, okay, you have a good day. Ma'am, where's the check? I'm not about to play with you. You're not about to gaslight people or manipulate people. No, ma'am. Either say what was said, or get off the pot. Period. And I absolutely agree with Kyle that this is dangerous because if you're accusing a Southern white woman about saying something dark as it pertains to race relations, you already know what folks are thinking. Like she must have said something damning, and for you to hold that hostage and not say, no, Crystal, that is pretty dangerous. Go ahead and plus, also, here's the thing. If it was that heavy and dark, why would you, as a woman of color, why would you want to be friends with someone like that? Because for me, some things there's no coming back from. Just for me, others operate differently. Why would you want to be with a person that espouses racist notions and ideologies? Because that's basically lightweight what you accusing her of. So Kyle tells her that she thinks that Crystal gaslights people and she needs her to be more direct and less passive aggressive. And then Crystal responds with, well, does that mean you're going to hear me and be open to my feelings? Listen, Crystal, if you don't feel this group is a safe space, then it's time for you to remove yourself. This show may not be the best for you, right? And here's the reality. Just because someone hears you or they understand your feelings doesn't mean they have to agree with you. People can call you out on your BS. People can call you to the carpet. I just have a feeling that on top of you having those mental health issues, and I'm saying that gently, it seems that you're triggered extremely easily and no one can say something to you. No one can say anything to you. And that's unfair because you're in a group where these women, boom, 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 they going at each other left and right. This is not the Kumbaya Club. This is Real Housewives. And if you even did your research even a little bit, you would know what is giving. And maybe this just isn't the safe space that you need. Maybe television is not your safe space. I noted that Crystal wants to be validated, but doesn't validate other people's emotions and feelings, and that she needs a lot of coddling. You need a lot of coddling, more than what adults are willing to give another adult. Honestly, especially in your situation, because you're a wealthy woman, you're well-to-do, you're a pretty woman, and it seems like you may have it all together. You're not a child. You're not someone that needs help with anything on the outside looking in. And you just seem to be, if anything, it just seems like you need a lot of reassuring and things of that nature. If that's what you need, and it's no judgment, it's just an observation, you need to get help. Moving on. Next, Garcelle and Sutton meet for dinner. And once again, they're talking about the comment that Crystal made, referring to Sutton saying something that was dark. And Sutton reveals that, listen, the only thing I can think of that she's talking about is that we had a discussion about a comment I made or a thought I had when my daughter had like a pool party at her home. And so she says that, one day I was looking out the window, all of my daughter's friends were there, and there's my daughter who's white, there's a couple black girls, there's a Chinese girl, and there's a girl who's redhead who might have been Irish American. And I thought, gee, this is what it should be like. This is what diversity is. Now, if that is what Crystal is hanging her hat on, to me, that is not offensive. If you all are offended, drop down in the comments and let me know why you're offended. I don't think that was problematic. I don't think that was offensive, because I myself have been out and about and I've seen children of different races and ethnicities playing together. And I thought to myself, like, my God, like just the innocence of a child, like this is what it should be. Like there shouldn't be all this hatred and all these barriers, and it shouldn't be. But the reality is that we have it, and that is what's sad. And I think that Sutton, if she really thought that, I think many of us have had that thought, but we know that's not a reality. So I would be interested to know why Crystal thought that was problematic. And if you feel it's problematic, tell me. But Garcelle was like me. She can't believe that's it. She was like, no, that can't be it. And Sutton is like, I just want to move forward. And Garcelle says, we're not moving forward until we find out what was said. And Sutton said, I just told you what was said. And she was like, well, no, because if that was it, she's not a friend to you. A friend would imply that you said something heavy, and that isn't heavy. So I agree with Garcelle. Even Garcelle, you started this. I definitely agree with Garcelle that a friend would not go as far as to imply or make an implication that something more was said or done. Moving on. Next, the ladies are on their way to Mexico. They are boarding Diana Jenkins. I'm gonna call her Jenkins, not Jenkins. Jenkins private jet. I must say, I wasn't all that impressed. Look at me hating. I wasn't all that impressed by that little old private jet. I seen ones on TV. Listen, not in person, but on TV that were bigger and better. But honey, don't listen to me, baby. But no, she had a private jet. Everything looked nice enough. Everyone else seemed to enjoy themselves. I must say, I love Erica's Louis Vuitton duffel bag. Oh my God. It was like that neon pink. I absolutely loved it. Brenna also decided to come despite her recent loss, because sometimes, and in this case, I will agree with them, sometimes you do need to get away and get your mind off of things. So they arrived in Mexico, and baby, they put Sutton, Erica, Crystal, and Garcelle into one Sprinter van. Like literally, it was silence for the majority of the ride. So then Garcelle tells Sutton, she said, how much you want to bet Dorita's over there in that van speaking Spanish to them people, and they speaking English to her back. And sure enough, Bravo rolled that beautiful bean footage, and here she go, hey, ¿por qué? Doing all this, and the man said 25 minutes, baby. Like, girl, you don't have, listen, I speak English too. I'm bilingual just like you, Dorit. You can ask me a question. And listen, I get why Dorit does that. But sometimes it's almost offensive. Like, I'm just going to assume you don't know English. I'm just going to assume that you want me to speak to you the way I think you want me to speak to you. And what language? Be better, Dorit. Be better. But I know I'm expecting a lot from a woman who, you know, in my multicultural staff. See, that's the person you need to be focusing on, because I didn't forget what she said last year when they were having dinner. Okay? I didn't forget that. So whatever. Diana, of course, has her staff fly ahead and set up her suite, although she'll only be there, I think she said, for 2 days. Listen, I would hate to work for Jenkins. I would, and let me tell you why. This whole idea of living in luxury that people seem to be obsessed with now, in order for you to live in luxury, that means someone else has to wait on you hand and foot, which means they are not living in luxury. When I keep hearing that, oh, I want, you know, women, they should live a soft life. We should, you know, black girl luxury. It is a luxury for you to have a car. It is a luxury for you to have a job. And the way these prices are going, you all, I got news for you. It's not gonna, the middle class is just gonna go ahead and bottom on out. It's gonna be poor and rich. Have y'all seen these gas prices? You've heard about the food shortage that's coming, right? We have a tampon shortage, a formula shortage. Where do you think the United States is heading right now? I have no problem with luxury. Technically, yes, I own luxury purses and all that in between. But when you talk about living a life of luxury, make sure you're talking about all the things that matter. You woke up today and took a breath. You can walk. You can get in and out of your car easily. My oldest sister is in a wheelchair. Do you know how hard it is for someone in a wheelchair to get in and out of a car? Or have someone get them in and out of a car? Do you know what it's like to not be able to even use the restroom on your own? It's a luxury that you can say, oh, let me go use the restroom. And we speak of accommodations. I'm gonna tell you now, accommodations are lousy. So when we talk about luxury, let's not just limit it to wealth. Because the reality is, most of us aren't wealthy. And if you think you're wealthy now, you just wait until after they keep going with increasing. Rent is supposed to be at minimum $2,000. They're gonna keep going. You're gonna see how luxurious your lifestyle is. So just that's my rant for the day. I just don't like that we talk about luxury and forget that in order for you to be waited on hand and foot, someone else has to be denied a life of luxury. But listen. We're going to go ahead and move on. Next, they are at dinner. And of course, they talk about Lois. They remember her and do a toast. I thought that was very nice of them to do. Something I would have done for one of my friends as well. And then Dorit arrives. Here she goes, milking this home invasion, honey. Every single little step. What Bobby Brown say? Every step I take, baby. Dorit is going to remind us, you know, I'm sorry I'm late, but I had 10 minutes to get ready. The hotel, they put me in a suite, honey, on the ground floor, and just people around, and I just had to have it. Now, I'm not a wealthy woman, but you didn't think to call the hotel ahead of time and say, hey, can this particular suite be on the 3rd floor or higher? I mean, no one thought about that? Okay. All right. So you're saying the production team failed. Got it. All right. Here we go. Moving on. So Rena was like, okay, guys, I've been gone for a week. What's been happening? And I said, Rena, you sly devil. You know exactly what's been happening. You know Kyle. If Kyle don't do nothing else, Kyle is the Candy of Beverly Hills. She gonna get up and tell everybody your business. She gonna gossip and carry the storyline however she feel it needs to be carried. You know damn well that Kyle told you what was going on. And if Kyle didn't tell you, I know Erica Jane Thieving self told you. Okay, honey? So everybody's sitting there like, oh, nothing. Everybody's sitting there, it's crickets. So son was like, well, you missed my store event, and then things got quiet again. And Lisa's looking like, so who gonna tell me? Because I already know. Who gonna tell me? So then Sutton goes ahead and she kind of moves in and leans into it and tells Rinna that, you know, 2 conversations were had about her. And they finally just go ahead and spit it out that Crystal accused her of saying something dark a year ago, right? So Crystal says to Sutton, well, listen, you know that I felt uncomfortable with the things that were being said last year, but, you know, we went through it and I've seen that you've grown and that's it. And Sutton says, hey, thanks for saying that. Then why bring it up? Now, technically, Sutton, Crystal didn't bring it up, right? Garcelle brought it up, and Crystal decided to defend herself with a lie. That's technically what happened, but that was a good question. And so Crystal says, well, you know, words are like a Rorschach test. And Garcelle says, wait, huh? And she asks for clarity, which I think there is strength in asking a question. If you don't know something, ask it. There are such things as stupid questions, but not like that. Like, you all know when someone purposely asks a stupid question. But other than that, for learning purposes, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And so when Garcelle asked her, like, what does that mean? Here comes Crystal and her intellectual superiority. And she goes, a Rorschach test. A block test. It's actually an ink block test. And she says, listen, I know these are big words. Oh, Crystal. President of You Bet Not Say a Microaggression or say anything racist around me. I know you just didn't become microaggressive with Garcelle. Because for you to imply that she doesn't know big words, would you have implied that if it was Rinna, Kyle, or Erica, or Diana? Would you have said that to one of them? Oh, I know these are big words, as if Garcelle is an idiot. Listen, just because you know many words does not make you intelligent. We could look at this episode to see how you cut the fool and make all types of assessment about your intellectual state. We could make a lot of assessments regarding that. So let's not put someone down. That was Crystal being a little snob. Remember she said she's a little snobby. And you decide to kind of jab Garcelle. These are big words. It ain't that big. Watch what you say. Watch what you say, ma'am, because you tried Garcelle with that. Okay, like Garcelle said, I could think of plenty of big words to describe you, but I wouldn't want to offend you since you're so easily triggered. Anyways, Diana brings up, like, listen, Crystal is young, and although I don't like the character that is Dorit, she made a good point. She said, baby, she ain't that damn young. She said she's 38. She's no one's baby. And that is absolutely true. A lot of times on these Housewives show, when you see someone who's the youngest in the group, they treat them like a literal baby. This woman is a fully grown adult. She is not a baby, honey. We are not about to sit here and soothe her and rock her. No, she needs to stand in what she said and explain to us what she meant. So Sutton says, listen, I'm nervous about our friendship because you're attempting to assassinate my character twice. Now, Sutton, that was a bit of a stretch because you did say you don't see color and you were that girl. So Crystal didn't lie then. Now, she's lying now, but she didn't lie then. She didn't try to assassinate your character the first time around, okay? You were acting off the rocker last year, okay? You were behaving very strangely, ma'am. So, no, she didn't. If anyone assassinated your character, it was you and your behavior. So let's not make up lies, okay? Like I said, multiple things can be true simultaneously. And we have a lot of things going on here where there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of lies on multiple sides, okay? So then Erica, you know she's going to interject every time. Oh, that's ironic because Sutton assassinated my character. Honey, Sutton paid her dust. Sutton paid her dust. And that's exactly what she should have done. Erica, we're not going to go over this. You're a thief and you're a liar. How about that? How about that? We're not going to keep going down this road. You're a liar and you're a thief and so is your husband. So let's go ahead and move on. Even Garcelle was like, listen, these situations ain't even the same, Erica. Shut up. Shut up, Erica, okay? But I will say this. I like how Erica interjects, stirs the pot, and then backs out. Like she does it every time. She'll interject something, and then Garcelle will tell her, girl, shut up, and she'll back out. You just keeping enough drama going. Love it. So then Dorit asked Crystal, and this was another good question. Did you perhaps exaggerate or make it up? Because as I said earlier, I think that's exactly what she did. She felt her back was against the wall and decided to come out proverbially swinging. It just backfired on her, right? Because you can't create a lie about someone. It has to be the truth. And then she refused to tell it, whatever it was. And so Crystal says that she's not lying, she did not make it up, and that you can't deny her experience. So let's talk about this. Experience is open for interpretation, right? But what actually happened is different. Hypothetical. Let's say I walk up to my friend Jane and I said, "Hey Jane, how are you doing? I hope you had a good day." "Well, I'll talk to you later," and I walk off. If Jane went back to our friend Keisha and said, "I ran into Canary, she had an attitude, she came up to me and said, how you doing? I hope you had a good day," and then she slapped my shoulder and walked away, we could say that's her experience, but really what she would be doing is lying. And we have to stop using these words like my truth. There's no such thing as your truth. There's the truth. There's what happened. There is reality. And that's why I say we need to be firmly planted in reality. What was the reality, Crystal? Not your experience. What happened, what was said, that is reality. And we can, if you would just tell us what was said, then we can go from there. But this BS you're pulling, I'm not going to say it. It's like you're holding it hostage purposefully. And that is wrong. You're using all of these words you've learned in therapy to manipulate and deceive people. And I don't like it. I don't like that. Not one bit. I don't like it. And so Kyle says to Crystal, "Listen, you just gaslighting us. You know, you can't try to hurt someone's character and then tell us you're not going to tell us what was said. You have to tell us, because what is reality? What are the facts? What actually happened? What was said? Those are facts. Your experience is up for interpretation and is not rooted in reality. It's not." So then Crystal in her one-on-one says that basically if she was a white woman, now she didn't use those words, but she said if she was Rena, Kyle, or whoever else, she named the white women at the table. She says that they wouldn't have attacked them. I call BS. Because I stayed on Erica's neck last season. I stayed firmly. My stiletto is firmly planted into the necks of Rena and Kyle, baby. And even Sutton. Anyone can get it. And I will say this, the audience last year, baby, they lit Erica up. Do you know how many people dislike Kyle? And I'm talking about, I'm tweeting, I'm seeing accounts with pictures of white women. They hate Kyle. I was like, oh, baby, they cannot stand Kyle. So, Crystal, that's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, if we're being honest, we would have leaned in on them more because of their race. What do you mean by dark? At least me, I would have began dissecting it. You are getting the benefit of the doubt because of your race, right? So I don't agree with that. Maybe if it would happen in a different circumstance, but not with that. Not with that, because let me tell you something. These folks on Twitter, they tear Beverly Hills up every chance they get. Even for Las Vegas. I didn't even much watch Las Vegas like that. Baby, them women would go in on them all the time. So please don't say that. The fan base of Housewives, anybody can get it anytime. Okay? A bunch of thugs, I tell you, all right? So then Erica, shout out to you, because apparently you having multiple attorneys and being married to a lawyer really paid off well, because Erica asked some great questions. You know, listen, I don't care for Erica, but we're not gonna lie when she does something that's on point or she's right. She asked Sutton, she said, "Listen, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I want to hear from you and you only. What do you think she is accusing you of?" And I think that's a great question, because you tell us what you think was said, because she's not gonna tell us what do you think. Now, here's why I'm gonna give a little to Sutton. At first, she didn't answer the question. She says she just doesn't want her character to be attacked, or she doesn't want an implication to be made about her character. That's not what Erica asked you. She asked you a legit question. What do you think it is that you said that would cause that type of reaction? And so Erica says, listen, you just want Crystal to say that she doesn't think you're a racist. Boom, that's it. But here's also the problem. If Crystal, you think she's a racist, how are you moving forward in a friendship with her? If I think someone's racist, I'm not moving forward in a friendship with them. I want to get as far away from them as possible. In fact, okay? So Erica says, when you don't say what she said, you leave other people to fill in the gaps and guess what was said. She's absolutely right. Because you know most of them are thinking, uh-oh, what did Sutton say? Because Sutton is known for putting her foot in her mouth. So now, after she's been worked up, and this is why I said Sutton don't need no bodyguard, Garcelle. Sutton is like, I'm pissed. And she says, you know, I didn't say anything wrong. I said nothing wrong, and I'm not going to let you sit here and continue to paint that narrative about me. She says, Crystal shouldn't have brought it up. Once again, Sutton, technically it was Garcelle. She started it, but we're just gonna, and I will say this, Garcelle did say at Sutton's story event that I told her this and that's what led to that. So Garcelle is not hiding that, right? Sutton then goes on to say that, Crystal, you have a bad habit of making up things about your friends. And the whole table was like, oh, this is tea. Okay, girl, what was said? In Sutton's one-on-ones, she said that she knows some of Crystal's former friends. And they told her that basically she likes to be friends with the most powerful friend in the group. And then she would do anything to work her way up to that. Basically, she's a social climber and a backstabber, right? Now, here's the problem, Sutton. Once again, holding you accountable. Why would you want to be friends with someone like that? Do you think she's going to treat you differently because you're Sutton? If you have former friends, because you said friends, that's plural, so multiple people who are telling you that she's a backstabber and a social climber and basically she's just going to use you for what she wants, why would you want to be friends with someone like that? You guys are co-workers, but you don't have to be friends. Just a question. So then Rena in her one-on-one says, yeah, I've heard that before. I just don't choose to use it. I said, oh, so this is true. Like, you all know this. So I wonder if Garcelle has heard that before, because Garcelle doesn't seem to be fond of Crystal either, but she hasn't really said anything regarding former friends or things of that nature. So the girls at the table are like, oh girl, what was said? Tell us. And she was like, well, no, I'm not going to say. It's the same thing that Crystal did to her. And Crystal, I want you to hold up a mirror and tell me how you feel. Because you don't like that, right? You don't like that she didn't name names and go into specifics about what people said. And you were sitting there looking stupid because you knew you couldn't ask her to go into detail because Sutton was going to turn around and say, oh, you want me to go into detail? You first. So how does it feel? I know you didn't like that. How does it feel? So Kyle says, listen, I was there and I didn't witness what you're saying happen. And Crystal says that Kyle basically has some type of benefit to not acknowledge what was said. Maybe. And Kyle admits, I as a white woman could have missed it, but didn't just tell us. It goes back to just tell us. So Sutton tells them the same story that she told Garcelle about the multicultural friends at the pool and the jacuzzi. And Kyle was like, wait a minute. This story wasn't the day that the other conversation happened. This story was the next day, and Sutton told me about that, and I didn't find that problematic. So then Crystal seems to acknowledge that this is what she's talking about because she confirms the story by asking Garcelle, well, are you not offended? Do you not find that problematic? And Garcelle was like, no, I'm not offended and I don't find it problematic. That wasn't dark to me. It wasn't that big of a deal. We don't know what's going on. Crystal lying. I think that is my ruling for the day. Crystal is lying. And instead of her just saying, oh, y'all, I made it up because I felt I was being attacked. Instead of her just taking accountability, okay? That's the word of today. Accountability and saying, listen, I made it up. She's dragging this out. And Miss Crystal, you lying. I hate to say it because I liked you, Crystal, but honey, you lying. But Garcelle, my good eyes on you. So, and with that, if there is nothing else, get down in the comments and tell me what you thought about episodes 5 and, honey, 5 and 6. 4 and 5. I am off. You all, I don't know what episode it is. I will have the episode number right when I write in the title of the video. How about that? But tell me what you thought about the last 2 episodes. And if there's nothing else, I will see you all later. Mwah. Beverly Hills is bringing it, y'all. Atlanta, step your game up.